I love talking about my different fandoms and favorite video games and movies and TV shows as much as the next person, but there are things happening right now in our country that need to be talked about. It's political, it's not good news, it's things that are uncomfortable to talk about but that need to be talked about and need to be brought attention to. People need to know and stay informed of what is going on. Below in my video description there is an ever-growing list of people, social media accounts, organizations, and websites that are standing up to the hatred and violence we are seeing by our quote-unquote President Trump. Check out any of the links and social media accounts that I have at the bottom of my description to stay informed and to find out how you can help fight back. Just like Captain America said that it doesn't matter what the mobs or the politicians tells you. It doesn't matter if so many of them is saying something wrong is something right. And if they come to you saying that, telling you to move, it is your job to stand there and plant yourself beside the river of truth and say, no, you move. Hatred and ignorance and fear is not what makes our country great. Hey geeks and gamers, what's up? I'm Trey Guillotine. Welcome to my channel, and this is a special episode of Enthusiastically geeking out about what we're gaming on with E3 2019. We just had E3 2019 over the past week. Lots of announcements for video games, and this video is going to be just my own highlights of some of the games that have been announced from E3 2019. We're not going to have a What You Gaming On segment, but if you want your answer featured in a future video, make sure to tell me the game you're playing, what you like about it, what you don't like about it, in the comments of this video or on any of my social media, and your answer will be featured in an upcoming episode. So we're going to dive right into some of the games coming out for E3, and the first one for me is Baldur's Gate 3. Now, the trailer that they actually showed, I wasn't really sure what was going on. The reason I'm excited about Baldur's Gate 3 is because I've never played Baldur's Gate. I didn't play Baldur's Gate 1. I didn't play Baldur's Gate 2. It's one of those games that I've heard so much about, that it's this fantasy game. From what I've seen of it, it's very Diablo-esque, or at least Diablo 3. I've never played Diablo 1 or 2. I've only played Diablo 3. But it's that kind of play style. And I've heard how great it is. That, Baldur's Gate 2 is just one of the best games out there. So I've always heard how great it is. So hopefully with Baldur's Gate 3, this might be like a first-time Baldur's Gate player-friendly kind of game, and I can jump in. Or maybe even with the popularity of Baldur's Gate 3, we might get like a Baldur's Gate 1 and or 2 remaster for like Xbox One or PS4 or something, because I would love to go back and play those games and really experience those games, because I've heard so much about them and I feel like I missed out. But in the trailer, it showed like this knight guy, and he transformed into this Cthulhu monster looking thing, and then it was just Baldur's Gate 3. Did they have a release date? They did not have a release date on the trailer, so I don't know when this is going to be coming out. Considering that this was really just kind of a teaser, it's probably not going to come out for a while. So the next one we're going into is Borderlands 3, which I have to admit, Borderlands 3 looks insanely good. Like, it looks like a lot of fun. It looks great. It looks good. And Borderlands, the series, every time I've seen something from Borderlands, it always looks good, and it gets me excited about, I want to play that. The problem is, I played Borderlands 1, and I didn't really get into it, which that wasn't a very story-heavy game from what I've told of the rest of it. I only played like the first parts of it, and then just put it down, never picked up again. And the same can be said for Borderlands 2 and Borderlands pre-sequel. Like, I tried playing them. I wanted to play them. I really wanted to get into them, but they were games that didn't really catch my attention. They didn't hold my attention when playing it. So, like, I'm kind of worried that I'm going to hear all these great things about Borderlands 3, because it does look awesome, and then I'm going to get it, and it's going to be another one where I'm going to stop playing it one day and just never pick it back up. But that is coming out in September 13th, 2019. And it looks awesome. So if you haven't seen the trailer, it looks awesome. It looks insane. It looks like a lot of fun. I hope it is a game that if I do get it, it holds my interest. So this is one game that I actually am really looking forward to, and it's Cyberpunk 2077, and we did get a release date for it, which is April 16th, 2020, and what they showed honestly wasn't much more than they've already showed just in general of teases and videos and gameplay at past E3s, and just in general releasing trailers and gameplay footage. Like, I feel like we've seen more from those than we saw in this. In this one, they just really showed one scene, which was it didn't even look like a gameplay scene unless it was a very cinematic type reaction command type scene. But it looked awesome. It looked like a very awesome scene and really cool. And you had all the body modification and the knives coming out of his hand. It looked cool. But it didn't really show anything else except, and I feel like this was supposed to be their big reveal for E3. At the end of the trailer, you see Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves is voice acting, and I'm guessing character mocapping a character in Cyberpunk 2077. And I feel like Keanu Reeves, just like Jeff Goldblum, has just suddenly skyrocketed into popularity. Which I'm not saying Jeff Goldblum and Keanu Reeves were never popular, because they were. They've stayed fairly popular. But I feel like in the past couple of years, both of these actors have reached a new level of popularity with them. And don't get me wrong, I like Keanu Reeves. I like Keanu Reeves. The first Matrix movie was amazing. Of course, we also have Bill and Ted and Their Excellent Adventure, which I know it's a shame I haven't seen all of the movies. I saw the one. I think it was Bill and Ted's. I think it was the second Bill and Ted movie where they bring all of the different people from history to their class project. That's the one I saw. So no, I haven't seen all the Bill and Ted movies. I know I need to rectify that. But yeah, he's very funny in that when he's what was he, 12 in that movie? He's a vampire. He doesn't actually age. And then, of course, the John Wick movies, which I have nothing but good things to say about the John Wick movies. Also, he just seems like a really nice, really cool guy. He seems like someone who hasn't let his celebrity status really change him. He seems really humble. He seems really cool. I've heard a lot of really great and cool things about him. I've also heard some weird things about him, but nothing that was ever oh, I hate Keanu Reeves. I generally like Keanu Reeves, but I feel like lately he's just skyrocketed all of a sudden, which good for him. Good for him. That's great, but I feel like that was their big reveal. And then Keanu Reeves comes out on stage at E3, which watching that was entertaining, just him reacting with the crowd. At some point he says oh, Cyberpunk 77 is breathtaking, and someone yells out, "You're breathtaking," and Keanu Reeves responds, "You're breathtaking, you're all breathtaking." So it was a lot of fun. So that's cool. That definitely is cool, and having Keanu Reeves in Cyberpunk definitely gives it more of a cinematic feeling towards the game, whereas Witcher, which is the only other games I've seen that CD Projekt Red has done, I think that's the only games they've done. They're one of those game studios that they specifically only did these games that were all connected. If you look at Supergiant games, they did Bastion, they did Transistor, they unfortunately did Pyre, which 2 out of 3 is not bad. And then CD Projekt Red is one of those companies that, they just did The Witcher, and Cyberpunk 2077 is their next thing, which The Witcher was an amazing series. Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, one of the best games, at least of this current generation. So that's the main reason why I was excited for Cyberpunk 2077, just because it was CD Projekt Red. But The Witcher, I wouldn't necessarily call cinematic. It was definitely... I think cinematic, I think The Last of Us, I think Tomb Raider, I think Uncharted 4, or any of the Telltale games. They're they're less cinematic, more whatever. It definitely, having Keanu Reeves there, the point I'm making is having Keanu Reeves there definitely gives it a more cinematic feeling. So hopefully that'll be really good. And we did got a date for that, which is, I'd already said, April 16th, 2020. So first I want to say this, and it's not about a game, it's about a game company, and it's Bethesda. I want to preface this by saying that I'm generally, when it comes to Bethesda, I've never had a huge problem with them, but I've only ever really played their Elder Scrolls games and their Fallout games. And even then, like, I played Fallout 3 when it first came out, and it freaked me out. It still gives me anxiety whenever I try to play that game. When I played Morrowind and Oblivion, same thing. It gives me anxiety. I can't really explain why it does. I don't know why they freak me out, but they do. I was able to play New Vegas most of the way. Like, I finished the main campaign in New Vegas. So those are the games of Bethesda that I've played. Fallout 4, Skyrim, I can easily play. Love those games. Play them all the time. Love that I can do mods with them on the Xbox One now, which just completely changes the game. So generally, I like Bethesda. I even like Bethesda's mobile games like Blades and Fallout Shelter. But I do have to admit, with Fallout 76, I didn't have many of the problems that other people did. I didn't have any of, like, the deluxe edition gift problems that some people had. I didn't have any of the glitches in game that a lot of people went through. But for me, my biggest disappointment with Fallout 76 was that it, one, was just kind of dull and boring and wasn't anything that really held my attention. And two, it was said when it was first announced that it is possible to play the game as single player, and it's not that that's not true. It's that to do that is a lot more difficult than if you're playing with other people, which seems like a given. Yeah, that's on me. But I want more single player stuff because I rarely ever play with other people. So I just want to preface that, like, this is where I'm standing in terms of Bethesda. But Bethesda's whole presentation was very gamer focused. They were very much that we're for the gamer, we listen to the feedback, we listen to our fans, we listen to our community, and we want to make the games that you want to play. We want to make the games that we all want to play. We want to make these games, and we want to listen to you and do our best to do better. So I definitely feel that, like, we have to give credit where credit is due, that Bethesda more or less called out, hey, we screwed up. My bad. We're going to do better. So, like, credit where credit is due. The only real thing from Bethesda's presentation was, for me anyway, was Fallout 76. Which, again, it's something that I keep trying to go back to, but it never holds my attention. This might change that. Well, not the first thing, but the second thing. The first thing they're adding, the big addition, is that they're adding a Battle Royale mode called Nuclear Winter, which, great, that sounds great for someone who's not me. So I barely even paid attention to that because I just have no interest in Battle Royale mode. The other thing that did get my interest, however, is the fact that they are bringing humans, other human NPC characters, into Fallout 76, which is funny, because that was one of the big deals when they first announced Fallout 76 a year ago, is that they weren't going to have any human NPCs. The only NPCs you're going to have are enemies, and no human enemies, just like ghouls and the Scorch, which are the most human enemies in the game, as far as I've seen, and super mutants, I guess. But that there were no other human NPCs, just robots. And that any human that you would run into would be another player. Which, that sounded really cool in theory. In actual reality, it was a really boring thing. You got most of the quests that I've been on, they were from just reading a computer screen, going to do it, coming back to the computer screen. It was very dull, and it just kind of made for, like, a slog kind of game through. But now they're basically reneging on that. Is reneging even the right word for that? They're basically going back on that and bringing humans back into Fallout 76. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I will definitely, I bought the game. I own the game. So I'll definitely go back to it and see what's going on. Maybe that will make it better. I don't know. We'll see. So now let's get into one of Square Enix's big announcements, and it was, to my surprise, Final Fantasy VII Remake. This is, again, something that Square Enix does. They announced it years ago that they are remaking Final Fantasy VII, and then we didn't hear much of. Well, they not only did they show some gameplay from it, they gave us a release date, which is March 3rd, 2020. So happy birthday to me. It comes right before my birthday. And yes, I'm excited about a release date because this, like Kingdom Hearts 3, this is a game that I've often said isn't going to actually exist. They're not going to actually release this game. It's going to be in production hell and just be something to stir up hype every now and then, but it does look like it is actually coming out. So I'm looking forward to it. What they showed wasn't really any much different from what they've already shown just in trailers and at past E3s. The only real difference is they showed Barrett and Marlene interacting at Tifa's Seventh Heaven, which was sweet. They showed Tifa, which I don't think we've seen Tifa yet. I think this was the first time we've seen Tifa. And then they showed basically clips from, not even clips, just trailers of the first two Mako reactor missions that you go on in the very beginning of the game. And then they also had that initial confrontation between Cloud and Sephiroth in the Shinra mansion, which is, that kind of landmark image of Sephiroth, walking in the flames. They kind of showed a glimpse of that. Not necessarily... Anyway, they showed a glimpse of that scene. Which, cool. If Final Fantasy 15 and Kingdom Hearts 3 are any indications of how good this game is going to be, I am very excited for it. I wish that they'd shown a bit more about what they're going to do and how it's going to come out, because when it was first announced, they said that it was going to be episodic, or that the way they were going to release it was going to be episodic, and it wasn't really clear what they meant by that. When I hear episodic, I'm thinking of a Telltale game where they have chapter 1, or chapter 1, and then months later chapter 2, and then months later chapter 3. So I wasn't really sure what it is they meant by that. It could also be like they did with Final Fantasy 15, where they had the main story, and then they did DLC episodes of the other characters, which personally I think all of those stories and all of the Comrade story and not the King's Knight story, the Kingsglaive story, just all of the stories that weren't in the main game of Final Fantasy 15 needed to be in the main game of Final Fantasy 15 because it made the story make sense. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they mean when they say it's going to be episodic. But only time will tell. I'm definitely excited for it. Again, this is coming out, I already said it's coming out for my birthday. So I am looking forward to it. It looks great. Next one, this is the one that I've actually been waiting for. Not waiting for. This is the one I was actually more excited to see more about, and the one that's kind of disappointed me the most from this E3. And that's Gears 5. It's no longer Gears of War 5. They're just calling it Gears, and it's Gears 5, which I don't know why they're bothering changing the name. I think that's really dumb. But they showed... I love Gears of War. I love the story of Gears of War. I love the lore. I love the characters. I love the mechanics of the game. Love Gears of War. One of my favorite franchises. But the thing I love about it is the single-player campaign. I've never done Gears of War multiplayer. I've never done the Horde mode. I've never played online with other people. I just play the story. So that's what I was excited to see more of, because we really only got a glimpse, just a teaser of what is going on in Gears 5. They're in a snow place. JD's actually shaved his head. It actually looks a lot like me now. Or do I look like him? Am I more JD now? Anyway, his head is shaved, and he's back with the Coalition, and something's up with his arm, and Kate has to go find something that has to do with the medallion, which for somehow, I don't understand how, but somehow Queen Mira from the original Gears trilogy is her grandmother or something. I was never really clear on that. Hopefully that is something that is going to be... That looks like that is what's going to be explored in this game, but they gave like just this briefest, smallest of artistic teasers of Kate. Without actually saying anything that the movie is about, which I was really disappointed by. But they did focus on this new multiplayer co-op mode called Escape, and it's basically Gears of War survival mode. You're in the middle of a swarm hive, you set off a bomb, and you have to get out of the hive before it goes off. You have more enemies, more difficulty, less ammo. You have to work together. Each of the 3 or 4 characters have like special abilities. So it's basically just like it's just Gears of War survival mode, which again sounds like a great idea for anyone who's not me. So I am really disappointed that I didn't get to see more of the story campaign or like another trailer of it. But it is something I am excited about, and it's coming out soon. I didn't write the date down, but it is coming out soon. I want to say September. Going into another Square Enix game, again, another one that they announced years ago and are now finally showing something of it, is Marvel Avengers. They are finally showing that their Avengers project, it's a Marvel game surrounding the Avengers. It doesn't look bad, but it basically looks like Ultimate Marvel, which are 2 of the Marvel games that came out before the MCU was a thing. I would also say that it kind of looked like the gameplay and everything looked like Lego Marvel superheroes, which if you haven't played, go check those games out because they are really fun. They're actually a lot more fun than they should be because they're stupid little Lego kid game, but it's a lot of fun. But like the gameplay looks like that. Like it looks like you can either you're choosing which character you're going to play through the level, or you have multiple characters that you can switch around with and do different parts of the level. And like everything about it looks like Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Like that was the biggest note in my head when I was watching the trailer for it. It looks like Marvel Ultimate Alliance. The story is kind of unclear, which, that's fine. This is the first thing we've seen of it, but it looks like the Avengers have kind of retired after not stopping this catastrophe. Whatever it was, I don't know if that puts the world in like this post-apocalyptic state, or it is just a very bleak time for people. It's definitely not the Snappening. This isn't the Snappening. This also isn't MCU Marvel. This is like comic Marvel. It doesn't look bad, but it also doesn't I'm not super excited about it. I'm interested. Definitely interested in it. But overall, I probably wouldn't buy this game opening day. Another one that they've been teasing a lot is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Is that right? Jedi Fallen Order, which is one they've teased for a little bit. That they've been actually teasing it for a little while, just with brief trailers and brief teasers. But we finally saw some gameplay. We finally saw a trailer, and we actually know a little bit more about it than we did. So ultimately, what I was curious about, because most of what we'd already seen was more of trailers and more of cinematic stuff, whereas this, we actually saw some gameplay. And the gameplay, aside from being a Jedi and using, the force moves and having a lightsaber, the gameplay looks like Tomb Raider. It looked very environmental puzzle heavy. It looked like, you would have to figure out how to knock this down, to do this, to do X, Y, Z to get to the other end of the map. So it really did. It looked like something from Tomb Raider or Uncharted. That's essentially what it looked like, which isn't a bad thing. I love those kinds of games, so I'm very excited about it. We also saw that Saw Gerrera, who was in Rogue One, played by Forrest Whitaker, is in the game. He looks younger than he did in Rogue One, but older than he did in Star Wars Rebels. So I'm guessing this game is going to take place between Star Wars Rebels and Rogue One, which is great. It's that's basically the time of the forming of the rebellion. So that would be really cool to see. I'm also really interested in who this kid is. You're a young Jedi. I don't know if you're a Jedi or a Jedi Padawan. Who was his master? Did he have a master? Is he just some kid that realized he had the Force and figured out how to make a lightsaber? Or did he just find a lightsaber? I don't know. I want to know more about who this kid is. Not that he would... Although I guess if Saw Gerrera is going to be in the game, I don't see why this Jedi couldn't show up in the movies, hypothetically. Yeah, I mean, he could. Like, this game looks like it would be canon to Star Wars as it is now. But it looks cool. Like, it looks great. It looks like a Star Wars Tomb Raider Uncharted game, and I'm totally for that. It looks great. Okay, so this last game, and it's the game that I was definitely more excited about when I saw. I've been hoping that we were going to see it soon, because I felt like it's been a while. So I was glad we finally saw it. Watch Dogs 3, although it's not called Watch Dogs 3, it's called Watch Dogs Legion. So they're changing the names of their franchise again, like they did with Assassin's Creed, because they had Assassin's Creed 3, and then Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, and then Assassin's Creed Unity, and now they're doing Watch Dogs 1, Watch Dogs 2, Watch Dogs Legion. So maybe the next one will be Watch Dogs 3. I don't know. Ubisoft is not good at like putting numbers on their video games. Anyway, that's not what this is about. We saw a lot of stuff for Watch Dogs Legion. Takes place in London, and Watch Dogs has definitely always been like, it's been set in the near future. Watch Dogs is essentially set in the near future in the same universe as Assassin's Creed. So everything that happens in Assassin's Creed has happened in the same universe that Watch Dogs has. But it's set in London, and London has basically become this police surveillance state that, Bloom and CTOS have basically taken over everything in London. And it looks so futuristic, it's almost ridiculous. Like, Watch Dogs is set in the near future, but it still looks fairly grounded in reality. Whereas this one, like, honestly, Watch Dogs Legion looks like a third-person Cyberpunk 2077. That's exactly, like, when I was watching the trailer, I was like, this isn't Watch Dogs. This doesn't look like Watch Dogs, but, I mean, it still looks cool, but it didn't look like Watch Dogs. The other big thing for it is unlike in Watch Dogs 1 and 2, where you just played Aiden Pierce, and then you played Marcus. In this one, it doesn't look like there's one central character, but you're actually playing a team of DedSec hackers. And here's the kicker: you can recruit any NPC you see. You can recruit them into DedSec. They will apparently have their own origin story, have their own voice acting, have their own personalities, and how they would, like, do scenes with other characters. And, like, just for example, they started with this one guy. He's just a normal looking guy, British guy, and he was running around, and he was he beat people up. He didn't have a stun gun or a baton or anything. He just beat people up, and he died. And here's the other thing that looks like the way the game plays is that when you have a character, if you die, what it looked like in the video, he had like a second chance. So maybe you get like a reaction command for like a second chance to save this character, but then he died and it was permadeath. Like, and then that character was gone. And then the characters that were in the cinematic later were talking about how that character died. And then your gameplay switches to like this little old lady who is apparently retired MI6, which I thought was amazing and hysterical, and I would love to see that. But it's like, it just seems so ambitious. And Watch Dogs is something that Ubisoft has gotten a little ambitious on, which, again, I've personally never had a problem with Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs has always had a strong single-player campaign. That's what I was there for. Watch Dogs 1 was supposed to be this big online experience, and it wasn't. Watch Dogs 2 was supposed to be that experience, but was still just short of reaching it. And now this is what's going to be Watch Dogs Legion, Watch Dogs 3, this huge, ambitious thing with every NPC walking around you can recruit. So, like, if I go to every single NPC in the game, can I recruit literally every NPC in the game and just have my own little army of hackers? Like, that seems insane. Like, that seems too ambitious. And I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm just saying, don't Icarus, man. Like, don't shoot too high, especially when you failed 2 times before. And I mean, don't get me wrong, get back up on that horse, whatever. But I'm just, that was my big thing about it. It was like, this sounds amazing. If this is how it's truly going to work, that sounds amazing. But that also sounds like it's going to not be that. That there's going to be some stipulation, there's going to be some way it falls short of that promise. I guess we'll see. But that is another game that I was really looking forward to. And that, again, happy birthday to me. That game is coming out right on my birthday, March 5th, 2020. So I guess I'm going to have to decide between Final Fantasy VII and Watch Dogs Legion for that one. I don't know. I've got a while. I'm also turning 30 on that birthday, so I might be having an existential crisis at that time. But that is my highlights for E3 2019. There were so many other games that I did look at, but these were the ones that just really I was interested in. I watched as many of the other trailers as I could, and a lot of them others just I wasn't really interested in. Of all the E3s that I've watched and paid attention to, this is the most okayest. Like, it happened. There wasn't anything that I lost my mind over. Like, at least last year when they announced, was it last year? It may have been the year before, when they announced that they were going to do original Xbox backwards compatibility, and Crimson Skies was going to be one of the original games they were going to make backwards compatible. Like, I lost my mind because that was like one of my favorite games on the first Xbox. Loved it. So the fact that I could play it now, so excited. But this one, there was nothing that really blew my mind. Even Watch Dogs, like, as ambitious as that sounds, I was kind of expecting Watch Dogs to happen, and I'd already heard rumors of the title and that it was going to be in London. So hopefully that game isn't too ambitious for Ubisoft to meet those expectations. The other big thing that I'm kind of coming away with that is actually more of a disappointment is, where's Dragon Age? It's been a while. We know that they're working on Dragon Age 4. We know that Dragon Age Inquisition isn't the end of the Dragon Age saga. They had a DLC that specifically set up Dragon Age 4. So where is it? Like, that's the game that I would have probably lost my mind over had they shown it at this E3. Hopefully they'll show it later. I really feel like E3 is kind of becoming non-existent because so many video game producers are basically pulling out of it and doing their own conventions. Like, that's what Sony did, which thank God, because Sony, as far as I've ever seen, Sony has never done a good presentation or a good conference. They're just weird at Sony. I don't know why, but Sony is just weird. That is E3 2019 wrapped up. Those are my highlights. Let me know what you thought of these highlights and what were yours. Let me know in the comments in this video or on any of my social media. And remember, if you want your answer featured in an upcoming What You Gaming On segment, let me know the game you're playing, what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and your answer will be featured in an upcoming video and segment of What You Gaming On. If you want to check out any of my other work, from Marvel movie reviews to blogs to my other videos, go to www.treyguillotine.blogspot.com or check out any of the videos on my YouTube channel. And share this video so others can join in the conversation. And subscribe to my channel to geek out some more. Thanks for watching. Have fun.